connecting to that unconditionally loving energy only ever supports within us the memory that we are unconditional love. And yes, we've come here with egoic minds and pain bodies, as Eckhart would call them. I think they're really well labelled, if we want to label things, to understand, that those parts get in the way of the unconditionally loving beings that we all are and all can strive to be. And I believe we are coming here to be that more.
Welcome to the Miracle Frequency Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Susan Francis, host of the Miracle Frequency, and I'm so excited today to have my first guest. We've been talking about it actually since the very first episode, so I'm very excited today for Sin to be joining me. Welcome, Sin.
Hello. Hey, Susan.
Hey. And before we dive in, I just want to really introduce you so people know who you are. So I'm just going to read this little bio so I don't muck it up. But today, like I said, I'm joined by Sin Mariani, one of Sydney's most respected psychics and the founder of Downloading Light. For over a decade, she's been guiding people through channeling, healing, and mentoring, blending her psychic gifts with her background as a counsellor. So Sin's work is all about helping people connect with Source and awaken to deeper levels of consciousness. Does that sum it up, Sin?
Sums it up really well, Susan. Sounds fantastic.
Anything else you'd like to add to that? I know you're multidimensional. There's many things that you do as well.
Yeah, there's all those different things. No, but I think that succinctly sums up very nicely what I actually do here. People like to say it's your business or your work or whatever. It doesn't feel like work. I absolutely love what I do, and hopefully everybody loves what they do. And I don't always feel like it's merely a business. We're all in partnership with Source, with Spirit. And I feel very much it's like many people here, it doesn't matter if you're working in an accountancy firm, there are a lot of people doing their light missions, is, what I see, what I see it as. We've come here to, be a part of the shifts.
Yeah, I love that. And we had that conversation, I think, the other day. Sin and I were actually at sort of a Sacred Connections networking event, and I sort of said that as well. I don't feel like I want to get rid of that word business because it feels like mission or purpose or sort of what I'm here to do. Like business feels like you need to kind of put it in some sort of box.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And it's definitely your mission, your purpose, what you're doing. Yeah. I listen to your podcast. It feels very, very obvious that it's your mission. Yeah.
And like I said, I've been talking to Sid for a while. Sid and I know each other. We've known each other for, I don't know how long now, maybe 18 months or 2 years even, maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I've been talking about her being on the podcast. So I'm so excited that she's here. But so everyone can kind of get to know you, I'd love you to share a little bit about how you got into what you're doing. Like, how did you realize you had the ability to channel? How did you get into all of this?
Yeah.
What did that journey look like?
It's an interesting story. Love a good story, but to tell it, not in the sort of shorter version for everybody. I'd been in a personal situation where I've basically felt my whole life flipped upside down. And we all have these at different times, all of us. And you could call it an awakening. It was an awakening in the sense that I needed to be more conscious. I needed to be more present. It really triggered so much anxiety to the point it was debilitating. I couldn't work for a number of months, which in the end was a gift. From that, I started to read Eckhart Tolle. I tried to read him maybe several years earlier. I couldn't quite get him. Everything started to make sense. Pema Chodron was a guiding light, even Deepak Chopra to a degree too. So I started to get into this other sort of world of consciousness, presence, awareness, and decided to do this, another level again of self-healing. Interestingly, around the time that I had I wouldn't say finished this healing, but I'd gotten to a good space with it. A friend invited me to a small group of, to sort of be part of a small group of intuitive mentoring. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll do that. I've had enough weird experiences during my life, sometimes premonition dreams, things like seeing spirits, hearing ghosts, scary ones actually, not always nice, sort of some scary entity type experiences and stuff, which probably made me shy away from this stuff initially. And I always seemed to know what to say to people. I just seemed to know what to say to people from a young age in big serious conversations and things that were going on. I kind of understood things or knew things or So I guess there was stuff already happening. So anyway, I found myself in in this lovely, bit like the colour of my shirt, yellow painted room with two other lovely women being mentored. And in that first session, when we were guided to channel, I was just flooded. I was flooded with visuals. I could see everything. And it was so strong and so clear. And so this clairvoyance was just like activated on such a strong level.
Wow.
And then over a couple of years, I had a very incredible mentor, still in touch with her. I ended up being able to then hone other skills. I heard as well, I did hear guidance as well, and I knew. So I sort of had the clairvoyance, the clair audience, and the clairsentience, if you want to call it all those. And it was the sentience that I did develop, the feeling of things, and particularly understanding, feeling, knowing, connecting with, however you want to call it, energy. That was another level of taking what I do somewhere else completely. That I ended up being, exposed to all of the different things you can do, all the different things, reading photos, reading what's going on in the country, giving readings about somebody you don't know, doing energy work and healing, all of it. It was phenomenal. So, yeah, very grateful.
Amazing. I haven't heard that story. How long ago was that?
So that was about 12 years ago. Just thinking how old I am, 12, 13 years ago. Yeah.
And how did that then, so you had this one magical experience, and so did that just sort of set you on the path that you had to know more about it, you had to dive into this? How did you sort of...
Yeah, well, it was I can't remember the exact amount of time, but it might have been 6 or 12 weeks or something in the mentoring group that I was in. So I knew I was going to go back and keep learning things. But what happened is I ended up going home and channeling. I started to automatic write. For a while I was just automatic writing. I mean, I could see anyway. And I had some really interesting experiences very early on. Really interesting ones. Like I remember very early on a bunch of, I will call them ancestors, very humbly, a whole, they'll probably say mob, I'll say a bunch to be respectful, of Aboriginal spirits were in my lounge room. And I was like, what's this? What's going on here? And I remember this source energy, because I'd been sort of at the time mentored to check, something's here or something's there, because all sorts of things could come in. They don't really anymore. I think I must have established quite clear boundaries. But I remember asking, source energy, is this okay? And source sort of said to the ancestors, it's not the time yet. It's not the time. I still don't totally know what that means. But what happened, I was starting to channel a lot of downloads that I realised weren't just for me, Susan, they were for humanity. So after that, what I ended up doing was that's when I started to getting on socials and writing blog posts and articles and things, downloads for humanity. And they're still on my website. A lot of them are still very relevant. So that's kind of how that, continued.
Yeah, amazing. And so, actually, before we got on this call, before we sort of hit record, we're having a chat about the term psychic and channeler. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, what's the difference?
Okay. Well, Google lists you as a psychic. Like, Google doesn't have any other listing at this point in time. Google, I know you're listening, but the difference I find is, that. For a lot of people, they're born psychic, and so they will instantly be tapping into all sorts of experiences, and often what I would say are unwanted ones, and seeing things that maybe they don't necessarily want to see, or they could touch someone or connect to someone and see, things like their death or an accident coming or whatever. I think that must be really difficult. I feel like as a channel, I choose to connect to the source energy. However, which means that often I'm in channel, or in a sense I'm not. I don't know that I'm not in channel anymore though. So after all these years of being, in a sense, in channel, I feel like I'm connected to source. Well, we all are, let's be real. We all are connected, whether we know it or not, or notice it or not. I'm very connected, shall we say, to the source energy. a lot, and so there are often things that come through, but I don't pay a lot of attention to it. So I could say, for instance, maybe I'm at the gym, I see someone, I might pick up on something. It's their energy. Rather than thinking like person's angry, I might go, oh, they're grieving, So sometimes, but I don't really go in deep. I'm not interested in doing that. I also feel like it's a bit of an invasion of privacy, so I let all that stuff go. But I do know that sometimes things have come through for me. So, when I was in my mid-30s, I had quite a serious car accident on the freeway, but I was given a premonition dream the night before. And because of that dream, I didn't, because I used to speed a little bit, I didn't speed. I did have the accident in the same part of the freeway. Whilst in the dream, the whole side of my car had been written off. It wasn't mine. The whole side of the other car was written off. And a racing car driver, how seriously, the universe, if you don't believe in it, please believe this. The person that held me in and stopped me, because I literally faced the oncoming traffic on the freeway the opposite way around, the person that stopped me from dying that day was a racing car driver. He knew what to do and hold me in. So, I wrote his car off. It was a big insurance payout. Thank goodness I was insured. But that aside, like, I was given the guidance this was going to happen. And so I have had things like those sorts of experiences with certain things. There were things that were coming through. And I think as a channel, what happens is we are all connected. We can all receive. Whereas I think for psychics, it might be like constantly getting hit by things. And it's almost like you're just open. I imagine it must be like this. You're open all the time without almost maybe a filter. My background in life is community sector. It's involved a lot of boundaries, ethics and integrity and all those sorts of things. That's very much part of probably who I am anyway. But I think that has also helped with this, channeling things.
Having boundaries.
Yeah, and you don't need to say things to people. If you sense somebody needs some healing energy, I don't need to go up and go, oh, what's going on? You okay? I'll send you some healing. I might quietly go, just send that person a bit of healing. And you just you don't tell anybody. You don't need to tell anybody. If the universe wants to work through us, it will always do that anyway. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you mentioned that we're all connected to source. What's your belief around, can anyone channel? Can everyone channel source?
Yes. I recently wrote on Dr. Tara Stewart's Instagram. Love her. The reason why I love her because she's a neuroscientist and she's bringing a lot more of these other things to light, and because she has a science background, people listen, just like they do with people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, etc., Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was, sort of commenting on something like this, and I actually wrote a comment to a post she put up and said that I believe everybody can channel, everybody can connect to loved ones on the other side, or each other, or to their pets, or to the source energy, or all of that. We can all do that. It's and the reason why I say it with conviction, Susan, is that I run workshops from time to time, and in 3-hour period of time, which I think 3-hour period of time, you have people channeling all various ways. And it might, I might be seeing colours and energies or feeling. Others might be quite, quite explicit imagery and visions. Others, it's knowingness. It's whatever it might be. Others connecting with spirits. People can do this. I don't believe people that that come to the workshops think it is a gift, or the additional senses, as the very lovely late Elizabeth, a dear friend of mine, would have said, one of the world's leading dowsers, would have said, is that we all have that ability to connect to the additional senses. It's just we are raised, I'm really sorry to say this, but we are raised to be shut down. And so you would know this, when a child is that first 7 years, we're in theta state and we are open. We are so open. And so it's not uncommon, for instance, I see this a lot in readings, little babies. So say somebody's lost a parent or somebody, and they're like, oh, my, dad didn't get to meet his grandson, whatever. I can't tell you how many times I'm shown, before I know any of this stuff, oh, it's a grandparent hanging around. Dad's hanging around the baby. He's going to be around him for the next 3 years. Sometimes you'll see it, like the baby's looking up. If you see the baby looking up in that corner, that particular corner ways of the room giggling, that's Dad. So we're open.
That just gave me shivers because I saw my daughter do that.
Oh, did you?
Yes, when she was oh, yeah, she was maybe only 14 months old, and she was
Yeah, right.
just, oh, maybe she was a bit old anyway. She was little, right? And she stood up in her
Yeah.
cot. It's going to get me teary, I think. She stood up in her cot and she was just pointing, and she was pointing to a wall. And I was like, what is it? What is it? She was pointing to a wall. And like, it went on for quite a while, and I didn't know what it was. Give me shivers. Didn't know what it was. And then the next day, I picked up a family photo that had my dad in it who's passed, and I showed her, and she pointed to him.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's giving me shivers. So,
Yeah.
and so I truly believed that she must have, she could see something or sense something that I couldn't, you know?
They always visit. Half the time they already know the souls before they're here. They're just visiting them here on, on Earth plane, Earth reality.
Yeah, yeah.
The fundamentally, again, we all have this ability to connect because we all are that source energy. I know
Yes.
I've heard you talk about that. We are that source energy.
Yes.
So there is the non-separateness. There is the oneness, whereas people don't always necessarily understand that. The oneness is because we are all the same fundamental light. Yes, we have different flavors, different, characters and cultures and all the rest of that, and stories, histories, backgrounds, experiences, but we are all that light. And, like I find it interesting when people, I have a different theory on this because channeling all the time, you constantly get shown things. I don't believe that I am just Sin, Mariani, that's going to, pop off on the other side at some point and just be this separate piece of light that comes back into another body and is that separate piece of light. I don't know that we're even that separate. So we might keep coming back in incarnations, but how could I say that I don't have some of your energy, Susan, or my mum's or my biological parents or whoever? How can I say that, whoever else we're around when, again, we're not separate.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just want to speak to Sin's channeling workshops. I went to one I don't know, maybe a year ago or more, not sure. But so I had done a lot of, I didn't probably used to believe that I was that connected. I'd done a lot of journaling, I'd done a lot of process, and I did like free journaling, but I still always kind of believed that it sort of came from my mind. And then I went to one of Sin's channeling workshops, and I remember so we did a whole lot of processes to really connect. Sin just sort of really easily took us into sort of really some meditative states to open, clear the mind. And then we got partnered off, and I remember being partnered off with someone. And so, we were taught to kind of sort of almost focus upwards and be open. And so I started getting words, and they were random. Like my first word I got was bark. And I was like, almost too embarrassed to say it. I was like, what is this person going to think if I just say the word bark? And I was like, what does that even mean? Like a dog barking or bark on a tree or what the heck? And it really landed for him. He's like, oh, I've got in this sort of musical partnership, and my partner's been talking about the composer Bach for ages and incorporating that into our music or whatever. And I'm like, it's like all these words. And so then I started trusting it more. And so then I was trusting what was downloading, and it was amazing because the key thing that I found was just trust. Like when I realized that, yes, those random thoughts, those random words or whatever they were, that was connection, right? In the past, I think I could recognize after your workshop, I could recognize that it had been there, but I just dismissed it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the key thing too, is that I do believe that people, get these downloads or insights or whatever it is, and most people dismiss it. And then as well in your workshop, you handed out a little brown paper bag with something in it. And as soon as you put it in my hands, and so our eyes were closed and we had to sort of tune into sort of what it was. And as soon as she put it in my hands, I was like, it's very spiritual, it's a crystal. And I knew it straight away. And so it just confirmed for me how connected we all are. And for me, and then, I realized that, yes, there is this open channel, and it is easier to connect to than we think.
Yeah.
But we're just conditioned that we can't, I think. I think that's...
And you will have witnessed, not just for yourself, but the others in the group, how they were just doing this.
Yeah, everyone.
Getting out of the mind. At the end of the day, we're so in our heads. And I'm so proud to say this to anyone who's listening and watching. I am so in my head, or have been all of my life. If you look at my numerology, my, astrology chart, all of it, you look at all of that. I'm a very fast thinking, overthinking person for predilection for anxiety, because of all of that. Some people
Me
say
too.
ADHD. Yeah, ADHD, what is it? Undiagnosed. It's a family joke. Uh, Channeling has probably helped me settle a lot of things down. But what I would say, or balance things, but what I would certainly say is that if someone like me, Susan, can quieten my mind, empty
Mm,
it, and channel, then I believe anybody can.
mm.
Because it doesn't matter how chatty it is. There's a way to do this. I do think it can be nice to be guided and be
Yes.
lulled and have that hopefully soothing voice, get people into that space as well as the energy. Sometimes I don't know if I use energy word, but sometimes I can feel, in the group, I can feel like that person's a little bit in the head and it's like, okay, let's just drop down a bit. Or, I'm prompted to then say,
Mm.
okay, go a little bit higher or do this, or if you've got a thought,
Yeah,
let it go.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I do think we can definitely all do it. And I do wonder that humanity over time will all be doing this. And that we
Mm.
will then therefore learn things, for instance, that we are also, I believe the people on the spectrum are here to teach us this. I don't like using that word, by the way. Certainly don't like the disorder word. I'm just going to say people have a different experience, that we say the words autism, for are teaching us that they don't need to verbalize to communicate. The telepathic
Yes.
connecting telepathy tapes are showing us that. The
Mm.
research behind the telepathy tapes are showing that. So for me, it's like, and I've seen that for years. I've seen that for years working with people with parents of children with autism, even. So it's this for me. It's just this ongoing thing of we are learning more and more and more about what we are capable of. We can
Yes.
talk to animals. You can telepathically connect. I have worked with horses in France, a whole bunch of them at one stage, people's dogs,
Mm.
cats, birds, whatever. Sometimes to find out what do they need, what's wrong with them, or had a cat tell me where it wanted to be buried in somebody's yard. You know,
That's
we,
amazing.
yeah, we can call, we can talk, we can connect.
Mm.
It's just how much do we let go of this
Yeah.
thinking? Just be open, and then we are in that. I believe we're in the field. Everything is there.
Yes.
And
Yes. We're all connected always to the field. It's just whether or not it's how much you're open to it and your awareness around it. And of course, you know, channeling, connecting to source is a practice. You were guided to first open. For you, it seemed, very easy, which is fantastic. But everyone can do that. Everyone can open. It's just how receptive you are to it.
exactly.
But tell me, what have been some of the most profound insights, downloads, things that you have learned for yourself or others from connecting to
There's
source?
so many, but what I would say, to keep it again brief, the first thing, fundamental thing, is that the source energy never, ever, ever judges. So it is only humans that judge. I'm sorry,
Mm.
they're just texts that think that any of the deities or gods or this or that judge, and that you'll be punished and judged. I'm sorry, it's not true. It's
Mm.
100% not true. And if anything, someone may have hurt a number of people in a way that, we feel that behaviour is completely inappropriate, rightly so, I dare say. The universe still doesn't see that as good, bad, punish, you're going
Yeah.
to, this is what's going to happen. It's very loving, unconditionally loving, wants the best for everyone. So even if I'm reading for a client and they may have been in a situation with somebody perhaps that was abusive in a way, it's never that the universe comes in and goes, rah, 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 rah. The universe is, if anything, it's not that it's saying stay there, put up with that. It's not that either. But it will always shed light on what's going on for the other person.
Mm.
It will
Yeah.
always shed light on sometimes their wounding or what's going on for the other person, maybe even what's happened in past lives, what's happening now. And
Yes.
it's so compassionate. And
Mm.
so it,
Yeah.
it doesn't need forgiveness because it doesn't judge in the first place. That's something that I think
Yes.
it's taught me very deeply in this lifetime. I had to
Mm.
learn how to forgive. It took me a long time, 40 years. But I also realise now that I don't need to forgive because that would only indicate that I've judged in the first place. So that's one beautiful thing it's taught me and I guess others. The other thing, there is this there is this sense that people, I do feel, need to hopefully understand is that we are in a dynamic universe, as I said to you before we started. And so things are not just locked in. You want to come to see me to find out your future, or a future with this partner or that. And yes, I might see that someone's not, if they ask me that question, I might say, okay, I'm not really seeing this relationship's going to be, the longest, or somebody else is also there in the wings, or whatever's going on. But the thing is, it doesn't mean that we can't still make decisions around things, or that things won't shift. And so I think, yes, take the guidance. I believe in the guidance I'm giving. I know that people write enough back to me in emails and texts, feedback about, wow, that happened, or 3 years later, that baby that everybody said I wouldn't have, yeah, I've got that baby, you were right, thank you. We did what you said, whatever. Well, not what I said, what the universe said. But it's, it's this understanding that let it shift, which I think your podcast talks a lot to, that stuff about letting things unfold, letting things be revealed to you.
Yes.
That's something as well. The other part I would say that I think's interesting too, that, one of the things I think that can be poignant for some people, I've always had a hesitancy, interestingly, to say that I'm a medium, and yet I am. I don't know where it came from. But a lot of times I've seen people who have crossed over to the other side, and they've been able to help loved ones on this side know, first of all, that they are okay, and that they're well and they're in a good space, and that everything feels peaceful and light and all the rest of it. Occasionally people might be going through a little bit of stuff. There is healing. There is healing on the other side. There's healing here. And the other thing, though, that I've found probably interesting is that's been really lovely. In some instances, I've been able to give people peace around the death of a loved one, or the crossing over of a loved one. Sometimes when people have thought that it was suicide or intentional type premeditated suicide, and it hasn't been, and the family has kind of known that, but not being able to prove that.
Prove it.
Yeah, and also you got to remember, I don't ask people for information. I'm being told. I don't know sometimes that people have thought that this person suicided, or that soul will say, this is what happened, this is what was going on. I'll be shown sometimes, interesting images and visions, and be able to relay, and then you see the relief in people's faces.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not always the case, but it can be really helpful for people for closure. And, and it's really interesting. I'll say this to all the listeners. So many of you will take at some point in your life, you will care for a family member or a partner or a child, whoever it is, and you will do everything you can. And yet when that person, it's their time to cross over, it's interesting how many people feel like they should have done more. But can I tell you right now, you have always done what you were meant to do, and there was only ever so much gratitude from others on the other side.
Yes. I love Bashar, Daryl Anker, who channels Bashar. I love his take on what we consider death, is that everyone chooses their death. Everyone chooses their time of departure. And that we sort of come here with an intention of growth and expansion, and we come here, no one goes until they're ready. So even if it seems premature or whatever it is, that's sort of what had been decided, or that was sort of the plan. And that as well, I take some peace in knowing and understanding that. And something I want to share, the way my daughter talks. One day, we're talking about children being so connected. We're having this conversation one day. I don't know how it started, but she just started, channeling basically, and just sort of delivering all this worldly, incredible insights. And she said, do you ever think, Mum, that maybe this isn't the real life, that this is just like some sort of, I don't know, like kindergarten. And then when we retire from this life, then we go into the real life, like the real world. And I'm, like maybe this is just when we retire from this life, we go back into that spirit world, and that's kind of that next evolution, or
could be other incarnations or other realities. Other planets. I think there's lots to. I think she's right. And I've only listened to little bits of Bashar, but always enjoyed it. But I do feel like the same. I've seen a lot of times that people have come down with contracts, soul contracts. I'll be here for this for you. Children even might come here, might only be here this long.
Yes.
But it might also be not to destroy their parents. It might be for their parents to find a really incredible love they might not have found otherwise by going through something so intense. And
Yes. Yes.
sometimes, I do believe the exit plan thing. I do, that we come here, we already know, we don't remember. Apparently, I don't know if this is true. Dolores Cannon, I think, said this: we're the only planet that doesn't remember things. All of the stuff. But I do believe we have our exit plans, and I also have seen a number of times in my life, people around me in clients' lives, how many times, if you are not meant to cross over yet, you won't. You will have angels. And an example is, I don't think she'll mind me saying this, but my daughter's other parent, as a young person, was in a very, very serious car accident where the whole car was so crushed that the police, everybody that arrived on the scene, thought for sure that her and her friend were dead. There's no way they could have survived this car accident. The car was that squashed.
Wow.
And they came out of it, I think, my daughter's other mother had a scratch or something, and the other girl had a broken arm or something. But nobody could understand, how did they survive that? We have those experiences.
Yeah.
There are angels, and sometimes our loved ones on the other side. Like a cousin of mine fell asleep at the wheel, and somehow he knew it was our grandmother, who wasn't with us anymore, who was very close to. She had woken him up just before he hit a tree. So,
Yeah.
we are looked after
Protected.
because we're on a planet that's so random. Like, this is such a random planet. Anything could happen at any moment. So, for sure, and I have seen angels. I saw angels I saw angels before I was channeling. I'd see things, sometimes. I remember randomly this woman that I'd encountered at some sort of event thing, was there with all this beautiful energy, making everybody around her smile and laugh. And then when she walked away, I saw this big angel, massive angel, walking next to her. And I couldn't lose the image. And sometimes when these things have happened in life, even spirits, I've looked away thinking I'm seeing things, looked back and it's still there. So
Yeah.
I
Wow.
can seeing things. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, if people want to, open their connection to source to be able to download, channel their own insights, how can, I guess, first of all, what are the benefits of doing that? And two, how could someone make some shifts or simple practices that could help them do that? Apart from, of course, you can always book in and see Sin, and she'll give you some private. We'll talk about that at the end. But
Yeah. Look, I feel like the first thing is, in terms of the benefits, connecting to that unconditionally loving energy only ever supports within us the memory that we are unconditional love. And yes, we've come here with egoic minds and pain bodies, as Eckhart would call them. I think they're really well labelled, if we want to label things, to understand, that those parts get in the way of the unconditionally loving beings that we all are and all can strive to be. And I believe we are coming here to be that more. And that will be the shift in the world. There is another utopia. I've seen it. I do know we get there again, another golden age. But, the part to this is that you will get that sense of calm.
yes.
And life does feel so much different connecting to that energy, which we are anyway. The other part is that it does let us, again, not unlike what you're talking about in your podcast, Susan, is allowing people to keep staying in their own flow. As I've said to you and other people before, I don't sit here channeling on my relationships, asking all the time, is this one going to last, or what's this going to happen, whatever. I prefer to go with the flow, but I'm also open to source energy, which it does, particularly with my business, saying, okay, I'm doing meditations. I was running meditation groups for years. And I was like, okay, you're not really doing that now. Okay, what am I doing now? Okay, you're going to do this. But you're going to put some of your meditations up on Insight Timer now. Okay, I'll do that. Now you're going to do this. Now you're going to do that.
Yes.
It's nice to be guided. It's nice even if you have a sick child. Or, my mother was rushed to hospital a few weeks back. And my older brother got very cranky at me. Oh, why are you so relaxed? Why are you rah, rah? And he was really upset and worried about her. And I said, because I know she's okay. So it already knew, even though she called me, I didn't even ask. I just had a deep sense of she's okay. Yeah, she needs to go to the hospital, but she's okay.
She'll be okay. Yeah.
And she was, and she is, and she's been a specialist. She's great. So it's so I feel like what happens is you just have a different way of doing life. It feels a lot easier and a lot less stressful. even for
Yes.
somebody like me that can still sometimes get in my head, it's so much easier. The other thing is, in terms of, I think you asked about doing it, I think there's certain ways you can be guided into channel. I should put something like this up on Insight Timer at some point. I think one of my meditations is connecting to your essential self. There's a couple
Yes,
of
that's a
those.
good one. That is a good one.
Yeah, even if you just listen to the start of that, that will get you in channel, will get you connected to you, your higher self. To me, it's all connected. It's all the same, really. But
Yes.
it's. I also think it's all right. Again, I'm not a Puritan, but I do believe that keeping my energy clear is a big part of assisting the work that I do. So I'm not a big drinker. I rarely drink, and I don't choose not to do recreational drugs and all that sort of stuff. And I also am a sort of person, because I am so sensitive. If I don't watch horror films anymore. If I watched a horror film, I'm not joking, there are entities in my house, because it is a lot of messed up sort of, lower
Oh,
vibration stuff, a lot
yeah.
of fear. You're kind of playing in another realm. And I loved all that
Yeah.
stuff growing up as a kid. I know why I did
I
now.
can't. Yeah, I cannot watch
Yeah.
horror. Cannot watch lots of violence. I just can't
Yeah,
watch any of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Same. You know what? To be honest with you, I very rarely watch a film from start to finish. There's very little I can watch. I can watch a lot of the kids' shows with my daughter. That stuff's great. There's a lot of things I just can't watch. And even, in fact, I was watching June 2, which has got violence. I like the story, but it's got a lot of violence at certain parts, or psychological violence, which I'm not, I struggle with. And last night I thought, oh, maybe I'll watch that. And I thought, no, you're going on a podcast and channeling tomorrow for clients. I don't want that in my field. Because I do, I close my eyes, and then there's all these other murky things in there as well. It's not just memories of the film, there are murky lower entities in.
Interesting. And even if just on that, even if people don't see murky things or experience entities or
Yeah,
whatever that is, like when it's all about sort of your vibration as well, and what you're consuming. If you're consuming lots of
yeah,
dark, horrible things, then that's what's surrounding you. That's
yeah,
what's in your energetic field. Whereas if you're watching or listening to, experiencing things that are of high vibration or full of
yes,
light,
it is.
that's what's in your field. So just for people to be aware of what they consume, and also then notice how it makes you feel, or how you feel the next day when you're consuming things.
In my
So
teens, oh, sorry.
go.
In my teens, I watched a lot of horror films and read a lot of horror
Yeah.
stories, because I felt there was something more. I didn't know what it was. And by my early 20s, I was still doing it. And I was having experiences with entities, even in my 30s. And I didn't know why, and I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? And, since I don't do that stuff, I don't have that stuff around me.
Yeah.
Like, and if I go to, because I like to dance still to techno and deep house and stuff at times, if I go to those places and I'm worried, like I'll go into a space, usually the energy's good. People can be out of it. Yeah, they are sometimes on recreational drugs. Or these days, not so much, to be honest. But what I find is, if I feel the energy's off or weird, I put that bubble of light around me. But usually I'll go, and I know that I'm okay to go, then I'm not going to bring anything home. But your energy, if you keep, we're not, again, it's not that I'm boring. It's not that you can't have fun. It's not that you can't be cheeky. It's not that you can't be any of these things. But when you're living more connected to that light, how you're going to be, even your thoughts, you're going to be less judgmental, all that is going to mean that it's the reality. And you talk about this in your podcast, your perspectives and your realities are going to shift. And so you're going to experience life in a way that feels like it is lighter. And there's this and that. And heaviness will come in sometimes, around clients, other people I know, whatever. But you still have the choice about, do you let that come right in? Do you let it swallow you up? Or do you, at times, and I will do this too, do you clear it?
Yes.
Do you notice you're feeling heavy? Do you notice that you're stuck in somebody else's stuff? You clear it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, because I can see we've been talking for a while, so I want to sort of
Yeah.
start to wrap this up. Where can people find, what have you got coming up in your world? Where can people find you? How can people connect with you? Tell us all that juicy stuff. I know you've got Elevate. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Elevate. So I started this new online collective consciousness workshops called Elevate, and basically it's with the purpose of getting more people together in the space because when we do this collectively, you would have felt that from the workshop, channeling workshop, the energy is so much stronger. And we
Yes.
get to, I feel, ascend, if that's the word you want to use, a whole lot sort of faster and more powerfully. And so I've been running those for maybe a few months, loving those and loving people that are attending the way it's growing, just organically growing. And the best place to follow what I do is just looking up at Downloading Light. Everywhere on the socials, I'm at Downloading Light. Or you can always find me usually under Sin Mariani, say on Insight Timer, YouTube.
And we will put some of those links in the show notes and down below here for everyone who is watching or listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening and watching. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there any last words of wisdom you want to share with the listeners?
I would tell them to listen to your podcast.
Well, if they're here, they're doing that.
Really high vibration. Well, you're already listening to it now, because listen to the other episodes. I've become a bit of a fan, just because I find it uplifting and real. It's very real. I love that it's real. There's no ego and murky, weird stuff and pitching, just trying to push stuff on me. You really are delivering what I feel is some really incredible messaging. And I would say to everybody else out there, it has been eclipse season. It has been quite intense. May you, as Susan and I constantly talk about, may you let things unfold and trust in that. You are being loved, you are being looked after every step of the way, rather than pushing and resisting. May you just keep doing the moments, let things unfold.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, Sin. This has been wonderful. And to everyone who is listening, Sin and I are going to do a little series. So we've got lots of juicy things we want to talk about. But we thought first we better introduce who she is, but then next we're going to dive into lots more juiciness.
Looking forward to those. Yeah, thanks for having me on your wonderful show too.
No, well, thanks for coming. Talk to everyone soon. Bye for now.
Bye.